Welcome to InCabin. From the creators of AutoSens, InCabin supports the global community of automotive interior experts by providing a best-in-class event experience featuring an extensive agenda across 2 tracks, expert-led roundtables, and a full exhibition of the latest innovations. We are joined today by Paul Zubrinich, the CMO of Optalert. And Paul, welcome to InCabin. Thanks for being with us for this.
G'day, Carl. How you doing?
Good, Paul. Let's start with a brief introduction of Optalert. Tell us a little bit about Optalert. Give us an overview of the company as a whole.
Our founder, Dr. Murray Johns, has been publishing research on the physiology of sleep since the 1960s, so it goes a long way back. In 1994, he began developing new technology for monitoring drowsiness in drivers. So in simple terms, the technology is based on measuring the frequency and velocity of blinks. And this is an accurate biomarker that measures drowsiness across the entire human population, regardless of age, ethnicity, gender, everything. And so for a long time, until around 2008, everything Optalert did was focused on research and getting the technology right before commercializing it. And then in the last 15 years, we've brought this into the field, and Optalert has been measuring driver drowsiness and monitored over 10 million driver hours. So we created the field of objective drowsiness monitoring, and others have since attempted to enter the market, but we've held a decisive lead in terms of accuracy and technical superiority. And so right now, our algorithm is the strongest it's ever been.
With the amount of data that you have collected over the years, Paul, and we know now today that drowsy driving is just as dangerous as intoxication or being distracted with a phone behind the wheel. Tell us more about Optalert's experience in measuring drowsiness in the field.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have over 15 years experience measuring drowsiness in drivers. But long before a consumer application in automotive became possible, we had an industrial grade solution in the mining and transport sectors. And so no drowsiness monitoring technology has been subjected to more in-field validation than Optalert. So one example is our largest client, Valet, has quantified our impact on its fleet, and our system has reduced cost of production by 9%. All of that said, risk reduction is our main focus, and our company mission is simply to save lives and keep people safe. So there is not a company on this planet that has prevented more accidents due to driver drowsiness than Optalert. So although this technology has been applied for a long time in mining and transport, it's relatively new to the automotive sector.
And with that theme, Paul, how do you see, taking the experience from mining, how do you see this technology reaching maturity or possible maturity in the automotive sector?
Currently, the European legislation sets a really low bar for accuracy. It's 40%. A car right now is allowed to miss 60% of the times a driver becomes dangerously drowsy, and it's compliant. And there's also no limit on the number of false alerts that would annoy the driver. But far more accurate technology exists today. And there's a sea of weaker technologies that are compliant, but they sit on questionable foundations. And so in the coming years, we'll no doubt see this bar get raised of how accurate these technologies are mandated to be. And so those weaker technologies cannot be iteratively refined to greater accuracy due to fundamental flaws in their models. So they'll hit an upper limit and be weeded out of the market by stricter standards. And as this occurs, objective measures like that of Optalert will triumph. This is great for consumers because it results in safer vehicles and lower road fatalities everywhere you go. So it's a good outcome.
Paul, let's go back to something you said just a moment ago, objective and subjective measures of drowsiness. What is the difference between those two?
A subjective measure involves someone self-assessing how drowsy they are. And so the results vary across people. Your 8 out of 10 might be my 6 out of 10. The most commonly used subjective measures for drowsiness are the Karolinska Sleepiness Scale, the KSS. That's used in the European legislation, and the Epworth Sleepiness Scale, or ESS. That's commonly used by medical practitioners in sleep studies and those sorts of things. And that was actually developed by our founder, Dr. Murray Johns, 4 years before he developed the more objective JDS, upon which Optalert is founded and built. So an objective measure, on the other hand, involves measuring biomarkers that cannot be influenced by the subject. So in the case of drowsiness, this would include electroencephalography, so EEG, so putting all these electrodes on your brain and measuring brain waves. So it's probably not feasible in a car. And Optalert's JDS is the other one. And that is just measuring blinks with a high-res camera. That's totally feasible in a vehicle. A good way of thinking about it or understanding it for those who aren't super into drowsiness is just to look at analogous examples. So an objective breathalyzer versus a subject's estimate of their blood alcohol concentration. An objective blood test versus surmising whether or not you're deficient in iron or vitamin D. And so if you told me I think I'm deficient in iron, I would say, go get a blood test. That's a ground truth. I believe that more than your guess as to whether or not you're deficient in iron. And so that's the thing. An objective measure, it's a ground truth. And independent studies show that JDS, the objective JDS, correlates much more strongly with EEG, which is the laboratory gold standard, than the subjective KSS. But the most important thing, and what we care about, is driver impairment and their risk and their likelihood to have an accident, or their increased likelihood to have an accident. And the JDS correlates very strongly with impairment metrics like wheels out of lane, whereas KSS does not. So what we're concerned with in drivers is impairment, not just a subjective feeling of drowsiness. People drive all the time when they're really tired and they're subjectively tired and they don't have any problems. The problem is that they are not equipped to assess when they cross the line from feeling tired to being impaired. And our system measures that and catches that, and it quantifies it, and it can see it coming in advance. So essentially, JDS is more accurate than subjective measures. And so right now, we've got teams of data scientists around the world working on this problem, not at Optalert, and they're trying to build models that best predict a KSS self-assessment, which the subject can already do. So these systems may end up predicting to some degree of accuracy when someone is subjectively tired, which the person already knows, but not when they are dangerously impaired. And this is why we are confident that our technology will reign supreme and win in the long term.
Paul, this is such a fascinating topic and important given the safety and the fact that it can make roadways safer. Looking forward, going ahead, how do you see drowsiness measurement evolving in the near future? What are your thoughts?
Right now, we're just talking about having big, loud alarms when you're dangerously tired. But our system doesn't just detect when someone's extremely drowsy. It quantifies how drowsy someone is on a scale from complete wakefulness, so 0.1 on the JDS, all the way through to extreme tiredness. So you can actually see the decline and you can preempt when someone's heading into more and more dangerous territory. So you could have proactive interventions and countermeasures to prevent drowsiness and prolong wakefulness. So it will get you home and make you stay awake longer. At the state where you're super awake, it will actually make driving easier. And then as you get more tired, it makes it harder. And you have to devote more of your brain and concentrate harder, and that will keep you awake. So this will proactively prevent high-risk scenarios from ever emerging. And that's the next step to actually, again, making roads even safer, reducing risk.
Paul, I want to thank you for your time and giving me an update on what Optalert was doing. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to seeing you in Phoenix. And of course, from all of us here at AutoSens and InCabin, we want to wish you the best of luck going forward. And thank you for sharing your time, your thought leadership, and your expertise with us today.
Thank you so much, Carl. Cheers.
For more interviews like this, subscribe to our AutoSens YouTube channel. And for more information about InCabin, visit InCabin.com. That's InCabin.com. On behalf of InCabin, I'm Carl Anthony.